think all of you have met Erin, if not, you've witnessed her. This is our third year being invited back to KSU, and I want to first of all thank you for inviting us up here. Ricky is an angel in heaven, so by allowing me to share Ricky's journey and our family story will give me the opportunity for him to live beyond my heart, so I am very thankful and grateful to you for that. Our story started almost exactly 11 years ago on April Fool's Day in 2007. Ricky had been constipated for a few days. I took him to the wrong hospital, and they sent me home telling me, oh, just, it'll pass. 8 hours later, I called Scottish Rite, and they told me to give him an over-the-counter enema, and he shot out blood. So I immediately bundled him up and rushed to Scottish Rite. At that time, I was 4.5 months pregnant with Erin, and their father was out of town, so I was by myself. We get to Scottish Rite, and within 20 minutes of walking in the door, they immediately grabbed Ricky and took him for x-rays and drained 300 cc's of urine from his bladder. That's a lot. Ricky was 22 months old that day. They came in about 2 hours later after running some more tests, and they tell me that he's got something blocking his rectum. Well, get it out. I'm tired. I'm like 4.5 months pregnant. My feet hurt. My back hurt. I just want to go home. We can't. It's a part of his body. Ricky had a 5.1 centimeter tumor attached to his prostate. He was diagnosed with rhabdomyosarcoma. It affects 350 to 400 children in the world. We had to win the lottery. The doctors at Children's were phenomenal. We immediately made phone calls. His father got back in town. My mother showed up from Pennsylvania. People came from all over. Had a great family support system and amazing friends who I can never make it through without. We were in the hospital for 12 days. Within 2 days, Ricky had a port inserted and started chemo. Now, rhabdo is extremely rare, so the chemotherapy that the children are given is adult strength. It's also over 30 years old, so there was no new developments. I'll touch on that again later. So we were in the hospital for 12 days. Ricky started chemo. He had 52 weeks of chemotherapy. During this time, we also did 28 days of 50-grade radiation, which is adult-strength radiation, to his pelvic region. They told me Ricky would probably never be able to have children, and quite frankly, I was good with that because that meant we were fighting and he would still be here with us. Again, this was our first battle. Ricky had 4 radiation treatments left when his baby entered the world. And my parents took him to radiation, brought him back. He walked into the hospital, and we were at Emory East Side over in Snellville. I think the Thompsons mentioned that hospital earlier. And Ricky walked in the room and said, "Where's my baby?" 3 weeks, so Ricky's still going through radiation. He had 3 more radiations, well, 2 more after that day, and then his last one was on Monday. I came home from the hospital, had her via C-section, came home from the hospital on Saturday, and that Monday, August 13th, 2007, I carried him into his last radiation treatment. Doctors told us that it was 100% gone. There was no trace of the cancer, but we still had to finish our chemo regimen. And in February of 2008, he was declared no evidence of disease. They won't say cured or in remission until 5 years out for rhabdo. So fast forward about 2 months, and he started to exhibit the same symptoms. And I kept telling the doctors it's back, and they said no. He did so well with the treatment, there's no way. Trust me, I know my child. So they said, well, we can't do anything about it for another month because, there's all those lovely protocols, and I work for the insurance industry, so I can say that and get away with it. But I also, because I worked for the insurance company that I had our benefits through, I worked directly with the medical directors in Atlanta, and they owed me. And I called in my favors, and I got my scans, and sure enough, Ricky's tumor was back. It was attached to his bladder and his prostate. So we immediately started chemo again, except this time, we didn't have the option of radiation because his insides were basically cooked. So we opted out on a very invasive procedure. We started chemo. In September, we went on our Make-A-Wish trip to Disney. Fabulous trip. You remember any of it? Yeah, I think so. You do? A little bit? And then we came back, and about 3 days later, Ricky went in and had his bladder, his prostate, his transverse colon, a portion of his urethra, all the surrounding lymph nodes, and I think there was something else, but I can never remember it. They were all removed. He was in a, I think it was about 6.5 hour surgery. It was supposed to be 8 hours, but apparently he liked things to move along, so they were only in for 6.5 hours. Ricky spent his first time in PICU. We were supposed to be there for 24 to 48 hours. We were only in the PICU for about 8 hours. One of the amazing things about Scottish Rite is, which is where our experience was with children's health care, they treated the whole family. It wasn't just about the patient. They enabled me to have both kids at the hospital whenever Ricky was in and they knew we were coming for an admission. They always brought a crib in from the NICU, so I would have both kids at the hospital with me. The nurses became my babysitters. It was wonderful. Remember, she would be missing. She was up at the nurses station doing her charts. After Ricky's surgery, they also got to know their patients, so they knew that Ricky did best in the environment in which he was familiar, which was in the Affleck Cancer Center. So within, I think it was about 8 hours, we got moved from PICU into room 186 across from the nurses station, so he could have immediate care if needed. And Ricky did phenomenal. He recovered properly in record time. He had a urostomy, which meant they used his transverse colon to create a stoma, and he basically peed in a bag, which he thought was really cool. When he went to pre-K, he told the kids, they were all talking about writing their names. He goes, I can write my name straight when I pee. Because he was in a bag, he could control it. He had quite a sense of humor. But he did really good with it. The only problem was Ricky was one of those children who didn't get your typical chemo reactions. When you hear about chemo, you expect the bald head, the hair loss, and all that stuff, which was great. He looked looked like Charlie Brown. But what we didn't get was the vomiting, which was good because that would have had really bad effects on me. But we did get all the ones that you could possibly maybe get. They're really rare, so don't worry about it. But we always got them. He had C. diff so many times, I'm immune to it. We were in isolation a lot. At one point, we were in isolation for 5 weeks, and at 18 months old, I think it was, I had to send her to Pennsylvania to stay with my parents for 5 weeks, because Ricky was in isolation. And let me tell you, 5 weeks in a room, and any room, no matter how big it is, with a toddler, can wear a one. But Ricky never really complained about what he went through. This was his life. This is the hand he was dealt, and he faced everything with such grace and dignity, and this is just how it was. He was a very old soul with an amazing spirit and a very contagious laugh. I love Facebook. I hate Facebook. The Time Hop, my best and worst enemy. The videos that pop up this morning, there was one popped up of him bouncing around in a car laughing, and just to hear him laughing, it was gut-wrenching and amazing all at the same time. But after Ricky's surgery, from November, he resumed chemo after that on November 2nd. And from November 2nd of 2008 to February 27th of 2009, Ricky and I were home from the hospital for 20 days in that 4-month period. And it wasn't 20 straight days. It was 3 days here, 1 day here, 4 days there. I got home for 4 days. It was amazing. It's like I finally got comfortable in my own bed and I had to leave again. And that was the time that Aaron was up in Philadelphia. But on February 27th, 2009, thanks to Facebook, got reminded of this. I wrote on my Facebook page, my status was, we beat it, we won the war. And when Ricky went through his first battle, the previous February, I said, we haven't won the war, we just won the battle, because my mother's intuition, my gut said, we're not done. And I was right that time. But this time, February 27th, 2009, we are done. I love this place, we're never coming back, I want to be here. It was a lot. You guys I saw upstairs, you have the stuff about the fish wall and the fishes, and let me tell you, that touched me so much. Ricky's favorite place was the fish tank. At Emory Winship Cancer Center, down by Eggleston, where the kids all get their radiation, they have turtle tanks. And they have the turtle statues at the hospital, and they have the fish wall at the hospital. And Ricky called the hospital Dr. Turtles. And I now have Ricky's 2 pet turtles that he got his last Christmas with us, Dr. and Amy. They're about this big, and they're a pain in my butt, but they're Ricky's gift. So while we were in the hospital, Erin was growing up, obviously, and she learned to do everything in the hospital. walking, talking, running away, making nurse discharges. And they were really good to us. They didn't, like I said, they treated the whole family. It was our home. When Ricky had been declared February 27, 2009, we finished our chemo, we were done. We're never coming back here. Every week, I had to take my kids to Scottish Rite to play in the zone, to go out by the pond, because that was their playground that they knew, and that was their home and where they were most comfortable. We didn't need to be there, but that's where they wanted to go. That was where they grew up. So Erin usually likes to share a story, and then I'll get back to mine. Is there something you want to talk about?
So when I was about 1.5 years old, you know that silver handicap button on the side of the door? Well, my brother taught me that if I took the phone books off the shelf and stacked them up really high and stood on them, I could press the button. And one day I actually did it, and I walked all the way up to the Aflac Cancer, to the front of the Aflac Cancer Center of the hospital. And you know you've been in the hospital for a very long time when security knows who to bring you back to. And you're not the patient.
So, like I said, it was our playground. That's where my kids enjoyed themselves and everything. So we thought we were great. Everything's done. Yay, we can celebrate. And then came our 6-month scans. Our 3-month scans were great. No evidence of disease still. At August of 2009, we went for our 6-month scans, and there were lesions on Ricky's lungs. Now, rhabdomyolytic sarcoma is a soft muscle tumor, and it's very aggressive, but it's also a cluster cancer, which means the cells can survive without anybody, and until they find their buddies, you're not going to develop a tumor. You're just going to have the cancer cells in your body. So we have 2 lesions in August. By the time we go back for the 2nd or 3rd time in September, there's too many to count. This picture was taken on September 17, 2009, and while this picture was being taken, Ricky's father, Rick, and I were meeting with the doctors to determine what we were going to do next. The internet is a wonderful and evil thing all at the same time, and I knew enough from other rhabdomyo families and from enough research and knowledge to know that we were going to bury our child. So Ricky's father and I decided that we were going to go for quality rather than quantity, and we embarked on a palliative care, basically praying that we could keep the chemo away while a cure was found, something was discovered, something would be found. It bought us time, and that's all it bought us. That was in September of 2009. We joined the Dance Marathon organization that September through UGA. We attended our first dance marathon in 2010 with Ricky, and I've been doing dance marathons since then. We absolutely love coming to these events. Ricky's first dance marathon was amazing. He had the time of his life. Erin has grown up around this, and what she said earlier, if you were in the room when she thanked you, was dead on, spot on. Actually kind of heard me in her voice at that point. Ricky's cancer progressively took him from us. In May, Ricky was admitted to the hospital in heart and respiratory failure. After about a week in the hospital, they decided we could possibly help him. Let's take him into the PICU. So we spent our next week in a PICU. There was a drop that would help rejuvenate his heart. And it worked. It was awesome. We got my Ricky back. Unfortunately, your kidneys are your strongest organ. And once your kidneys have had enough, they've had enough. Ricky took 3 years of doxy something or other, some big word name that we call for short the Red Devil. And before you could even begin in the Red Devil, you had to be on a 24-hour bolus to flush your kidneys, to protect your kidneys from this drug. Ricky'd been on it for 3 years. He was only 4, and it took his life. He went into kidney failure, and his kidneys weren't coming back. So we brought him home from the hospital. We left Scottish Rite for the last time on May 17, 2010, and went home to finish living. Ricky took a helicopter ride and met the governor at the mansion. During that time, he took his turtles, Dr. and Amy, out to the yard, and if anybody thinks turtles are slow, that's a lie. Rick and I were like big idiots running around doing this, trying to catch these stupid turtles, but he was laughing, so it was worth it. Erin came home the other day. They did their run at school, and she had a number written on her hand. And it's a number that we'll never forget. But it was also her time for the mile run. And her response to it was, God's cruel. On May 23rd, at 11:07 at night, Ricky took his last breath at home. And the world lost an amazing, amazing person. He had an amazing zest for life. He was an old soul. He never met a stranger. He had the best sense of humor. Funny Rickyisms, I have a whole wall full of them, but one of my favorite is, he walked out of his room one day and he says, Daddy, I tied my shoes. Daddy looks at him and says, that's great, buddy. They're on the wrong feet. And Ricky looks at him and says, they're the only ones I had. His favorite thing was cooking cold. Every time I cooked a meal, I would make his plate and stick it in the refrigerator, and when I'd bring it out, he'd say, did you cook it cold? Yep. Everyone who knew Ricky loved him, and he's still touching lives today through different organizations. We continue to raise money for research, and 2 years ago, in Ricky's name, they discovered that rhabdo is genetic, and they created a drug that is killing him. So, he's still making a difference. What you guys are doing, you need to understand how amazing it is. I can only speak for myself, but I feel confident in that what I say is from the other families as well. And I'm sure you've heard it in many various ways. Y'all are like 19, 20, 21, 22. I was not doing this when I was that age. Things were different then too. You could get away with a lot more, but I wasn't giving up my Friday night or Saturday night or a whole day dancing for a bunch of kids that I don't even know. If I was out dancing, it was not at a school raising money. It was at a club. It really matters. It's important. I never forget my first dance marathon 10 years ago. I don't even know anymore. And each one still amazes me. I've watched you guys grow. This is our third year. It was 70. Your goal was $50,000. You did $72,000. Last year was $215,000. This year it's going to be over $300,000, and I know it. I started at UGA. When they started, it was $215,000. Last year, $1.3 million. You guys know a difference. This time when you're giving out the feet that are going to be hurting tomorrow, when your feet hurt tomorrow, just think, I got to do it. And there's families like the Hopkins and the Millers whose children are never going to walk, they're never going to stand, and you're giving up your time, you're raising money, and every little bit counts. If it wasn't for what the Miracle Network, Dance Marathon networks do to raise money for the hospitals, we wouldn't have been able to keep our family together. My child wouldn't have had the 3 years with me that he had. They wouldn't have been giving money to research through other organizations and finding possible cures and having children still live. You are doing something that really, truly matters. You should be very proud of yourself. I am extremely proud of you, and I'm honored to live.